But it's very important that you read that. Make sure your children are very thoroughly up to date with it. There's not a lot of changes. One of the things that we did though is we did go in and do a lot of clarifications. One of the neat things about having a student council now is that a lot of the tweaks came directly from them. And so that helped a lot on the clarification that they had. And well, I think this needs to be stated, and Kim will be going over the dress code, and that's where a lot of that clarification came in as well. But it is imperative. One of the things that we did was we kind of put it in some sections, and you'll see on page 2, that is not an all-inclusive context page, okay? It's going to be the general where things are. And so that will leave it. It's my recommendation that a lot of things get highlighted. You really, because everybody has different things in their family that addresses that. There's going to be some that's going to be, oh, this is really going to affect our family more than others. And that's why I want you to really, when we say individualized curriculum and individualized learning, even that is very individualized. So you'll notice overall in our handbook that there are some really weird things that you wouldn't think, why are they saying that? This is a little detailed. Gosh, that's really all up in my business. And you will find, yes, that's where we stay. And so, mainly because you're wanting to get things accomplished in really a very short time. Even the students that come in as upper elementary, they have worked very hard on a lot of their incredible coping skills that have not been very effective. And so it did not take them overnight. It did not take them 1 year. It took them a lot during a lot of formative years to get into this different ruts that we need to get them help with. And so as we're trying to do a whole lot of different layers and a lot of different maneuvers, it is imperative that they follow the policies, okay? So this will kind of help you with, again, a lot of the content pages. What I wanted to make sure, there was a couple of things that we ended up clarifying, and if you'll go to the next one, thanks. Therapeutic consults. This is to clarify a lot of things. We are a therapeutic school, meaning that we are a holistic approach to taking care of your children, okay? That is, all of the different aspects of their life affect their day-to-day life, and we tremendously affect their destiny. And so what happens at home does affect them at school and vice versa. And so in a lot of cases, there has been a lot of team playing that has kind of gone on that in some traditional schools you've not even been a part of. And so there's been a lot of, we get back again to the labeling, all of the things that we kind of explained before under which kind of label were they under, was there things that were masked, are there things that we can still do to help, a lot of the different things that we need to look at to still evoke change and to help that child fulfill their destiny. Because ultimately, that mission never changes. So I don't care how old you are and what all has happened or what all will happen, my #1 goal and Harbor's goal is to fulfill the destiny that God has put upon those children's lives. And that starts at any age I can get them. And so with that, know that every decision, every single rule in this handbook is based upon that. It is based on not just the 9 years of having Harbor. It is based on, I'm actually a licensed counselor. And I am more, like Jesus, not more of an educator. We have excellent educators for that. But I do know how to make leaders. And that is exactly what I intend to do for these students, because the thing is that whether or not they're acknowledged, or whether they're good leaders or bad leaders, is really up to us at this point. But I don't create leaders, they're born. That's God's job, is to create them. You have leaders. That's why there's so much issue. Because when you have a whole school of leaders, and it doesn't matter a lot of times that they're leading, but you really don't even recognize it. Because our idea of what a leader is can get so misconstrued with what is sitting before us with their head down, banging on the desk in some cases, or tearing up all of their stuff. Trust me, these kids are leaders. And so we've got to be able to pull that out, because they're going to lead a posse. And we need to make sure that they lead that posse in the right way. That is really all of our concern. And so knowing that, look at this character development. Every single issue that comes up may seem like I just don't want to battle that. I just don't want to do that. And I get it. It's easy to get very tired. These children are constant. It's not about you get this little break. When they're in a break, then you're worried, what are they all into? What are they doing? What's happening? Or they're in their world of videos. It's very easy to let them go into their world of obsession, because you get peace. Because if they're not in their obsession, it's usually because you're having to really do a lot of maintaining. And there's a lot of maintenance that goes on with these kids, because they're thinking all the time. And so what you've got to find is, where is the balance? Where is the battle? And I understand that's very difficult. Again, we're trying to find what is the disability, what is not. That's where these therapeutic consultations come in tremendously. And there are some kids that come in, again, very wounded, very in a rut of their coping skills, tremendously into a system that they are not going to benefit from. And we need some time. It's one of those things that it needs a lot. So sometimes it's a matter of really having to rework the entire family load. It is something that it is not an easy thing to do, to train leaders, but it's worth it. And it's what we really don't have a choice. You have a leader, they are your responsibility. So is your job to train a leader? I'm afraid so, yes. So whether you do that well is also up to you. But I want to help you with that. I want to partner with you on that. But it still can be, we offer a whole lot of additional ways to help you that is not necessarily having to be a consultation every single day. It does not need to be. I can tell you with all honesty that if you look through this and really abide by a lot of this handbook, you will be amazed at how quickly you can get some change in your home. And it is something that emails, I have no problem with kind of getting feedback and things like that. But in most cases, the consultations that are needing to be frequent are because they're not following the handbook. There's so many things that you're just tired. And again, I live your life. I really do get it. But we're not, unfortunately, it's so what? And that's what I have to tell the kids a lot of times. That's a hard conversation to have when you've got a kid that has grown up with a lot of trauma. We have a lot of different experiences that we have around us. And even in seeing, I do a lot of consulting with other children that are not even on our campus. Sometimes it's even Skyping in another state. But because we are so unique, it is amazing the exposure that we've been able to get from all over to really help these kids. Because I have the adage of, these people are going to run my country. Whether it's not a guarantee that it's only going to be the ones on my campus. No one can be that arrogant to assume that you're only responsible as a leader in education for only the children that you have in front of you. It is a tremendous burden, but also a tremendous blessing. And so I take it very seriously. So a lot of the things that I've come to find out are things that I absolutely, mostly found out the hard way, but most of these are tried and true. And so if you follow through, the most successful parenting will come out of it. And you will feel really good about everything. And it's not going to be perfect. We're not expecting that. You're a mom, you're a dad, you're a guardian, you're a grandparent. All of these things, we need the whole support team. It's a lot of it. But one of the most important things there again is to recognize when you can't figure out where the battle needs to be, you can ask our instructors. You can ask us, because we know. In most cases, we will help you with where the battle is. And so I want to make sure to invite. Some people just really, because they always think about a consultation and parent meeting and instructor and all of these different plans as negative. Because you're kind of used to it, and like the IEPs can be so stressful and things like that, and you're having to go in there as an advocate and fight. We're also having to fight for our children because they've been so wounded. But I want you to have a little different take on that. These meetings can be extremely positive. So we really do want to have at least once a semester to have a visit with you. Now, for some of those families that need a lot more, again, there's some that are coming in that, especially the older you get, the older the student gets, the more compounded. And if they've been in a lot of SPED cases, I have sad news for you. They've been just let go. They just run to the resource room and it's too much, or they just go and they just check it off as, okay, that's fine, you've done that. And sadly, I wish that I could tell you I'm shocked. Actually, I'm never prepared. But to see the credits and the accomplishments on paper that so many of these students come to us with that are so made up is so grieving. It just grieves me because they haven't accomplished any of that. And so some of these things are having to actually tell even the parents for the first time. I understand that they have Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2 credit, but they don't know how to do a fraction. They never really learned any of this. They do not know algebra. Oh yeah, they're going to be going in there, they're going into AP classes next. They don't know what to do. And so those are some things that we have to really go back in and work that, because that's not helping anybody to placate the knowledge that a child may have. And in the other case, they may be absolutely where we get them up to speed for the first 6 months, and then suddenly they're just incredible, and they're just going and blowing, and it's like more power to them. I don't care how fast. I have students that have literally graduated with 5 and 6 credits of math. You'd be surprised how high you could go in. And we also have the dual enrollment with ACC. So there's a lot of options. We won't run out of classes to give them, don't worry. Because we'll keep them, because not everybody's ready to graduate early. You can, but not everybody is prepared, maturely speaking, to literally just start kind of going completely out there. So the next one, that was page 10 on the therapeutic, so you can read that a little bit now. This you're not going to be able to read on here, but it puts it up here so I'll make sure and flag my soapbox as if I need it. Page 34, if you just make sure and look at that. This is really, you've already noticed that I've slipped this in on a lot of the different slides. You know, there are certain kids that have dietary restrictions and certain ones, and you know, sometimes it works for the child and sometimes it doesn't. And you know what? That's okay. I absolutely understand that. I'm not actually advocating you will not, I really don't get in a lot to whether like immunizations, we accept those that don't. We have to at some certain, you know, when things are happening, because we are schools are regulated. So there's some certain things that there's only so much we can do in some of these things. But as far as a regulatory diet and things, you know, that's really a physician thing, and I'll be glad to help you at any of that. But the most important thing of all, regardless of if there's any allergies or reactions or anything, there are some solid things that I have found in my tenure that are triggers. Red is definitely one of them in many ways. I don't want to see red at my school. Do not send your child with red Gatorade. Do not send them with red anything. Now, Jell-O is a little different, something like that, but mainly it is really something that I really feel strongly about, and corn syrup as a whole. Corn syrup as a whole really spazzes the majority of the students out. And so I always kind of say, if you're willing to ride in a car with them for 3 hours plus, feed them whatever it is that you're willing to send to school with them, in the Dorito bag and the fruit roll-up that is not fruit, and then a cola, And drink, make sure you give them that power drink that they're drinking in the morning too, and go buy Starbucks for the Kappa Kappa Kappa, and then go ride in a car with them. And if you have no problem at all, it doesn't count if they're zonked out. That doesn't count, because they're not going to get anything done either. But I just noticed we really all do see the productivity change tremendously when it comes to that. Now, I'm not saying that they have to eat buckwheat. It's literally whatever, figure it out. But at the same time, there's really some no-brainers, like Lunchables. A Lunchable is not a good thing for your student, especially when you already have a lot of students that have some neurological little issues. And so you need to try to keep that in mind. Processed food as a whole is not good for a lot of our kiddos. I'm not trying to, like I say, I'm not as worried about overall, I'm not trying to change the world and all of what they need to do. You can tell that I have some fitness issues that I need to work on. But at the same time, if you know, if there are some issues that are going to trigger children, then why wouldn't I tell you about those? Why would you just expect a child to have to just live with it because it's more convenient for you? And now I'm stepping on toes, and now that's the part where I'm all up in your business. Okay. But I'm just telling you that sugar is a very dangerous thing for the majority of our students. That doesn't mean they can go without, they need to go without it forever. That's not any of that. I'm just telling you that they already have, again, 4,000 things going on in their brain at all given moments. If there's anything you can do to get an edge, even if it's 10%, a 10% raise, would you say is fairly significant? Or would you say, that's really not really worth it? It's all or nothing. I'd rather 10% is nothing. When it comes to being able to focus and be productive in something that they already hate, 10% is huge. Do you see what I mean? So that's one of the things that I look for, and what are some things that I've been able to see generate the most productivity out of our students. Sleep is by far the most important. And so you may be feeding them great and all of that, but they're not getting sleep. And again, when you have a lot more brain functioning that's going on, which we do, our children are just going and blowing neurologically. They need more sleep. It is a cycle that you will see. And so especially when they're in pre-pubescence and puberty. And so then it ends up being, in a lot of cases, you've got where they kind of go back to the toddler years. Some of those cases, they will act just like they did when they were toddlers. Whatever worked when they were toddlers and they're acting a fool, the same kind of things. A lot of times they'll get overwhelmed, they'll cry uncontrollably, they'll do a whole lot of things. There's a lot of weird things. Frustration level gets really extensive. A lot of different issues that you're not used to that will start kicking in. But I will tell you, without exception, I have never seen an exception to this in my practice, or especially in Harvard for 9 years. Sleep has made a difference in every single case. There's not any. Now the kids will tell you, well, I got a lot of sleep and I still failed everything today. Well, obviously there's a compound issue that goes there. Okay? It's one of those things, you can't just not study it all either and just sleep. That's not going to happen. Put your notes underneath your pillow. I had one say, I got this new plan. It's like, God love you for it. And that's one of the things, is some of that is we're letting them kind of learn a little bit. But at the same time, is that a battle? You bet it is. During school weeks and all, if they cannot wake up and function right, you keep moving that date, moving that bedtime earlier and earlier. You look at this. This will tell you, are they getting enough sleep? And some kids are going to be tired all the time. Then we have to look at other things. Then there's other things that you might need to kind of look at, medically speaking and all of that. But the most important thing is, what we can give our children is sleep, peaceful. They cannot play high-tech and shoot-em-up games and all that and then say, okay, lights out, good night. They are revved. They have been shooting bad guys. Even when it's not the Call of Duty that they're playing, even if it just ends up being anything, they're very competitive. So their brains are in the competitive mode. Give them something that they don't really care anything about, just kind of, you don't even have to even, just, you can say,